Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys could be here. We have a special guest at the show today. He was recently an obnoxious, loudmouth high schooler in the Breakfast Club. And in an upcoming film, he portrays a college graduate who is the leader of his group of friends. Please welcome Jed Nelson. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you doing?
Can't complain. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. So, Jen, you're recently in the movie The Breakfast Club?
That's correct.
Oh, good. Can you tell us just a little more about it?
Yes. It's about 5 high school students who are stuck in detention on a Saturday. The kids are complete opposites of each other. There's a brain, another's an athlete, there's a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. But they're all in different ranks of popularity in the school, but in the end of the movie, they end up becoming closer than they thought.
Wow, so we actually have a little clip of the movie. Let's take a look.
Hey, how come Andrew gets to get up?
That's right.
If he gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy.
So that was your character, Bender. What was it like playing that role?
It was quite interesting. John Bender came from a low-income, abusive family, whereas I came from an affluent family. My dad was a lawyer and my mom was a state's assemblywoman. But the tough part about playing Bender was that he had this rough exterior, but deep down inside, he just wanted to be loved like everyone else, so it was kind of difficult.
Oh, I can imagine. Now, what was your favorite scene to shoot in the movie?
My favorite scene? It was probably, as the character Bender, probably when I walked across the field in the end of the movie and I put my fist up in the air because I knew I got the girl that I wanted, so I think that was the best scene.
Oh, that's my favorite scene too. Now, as great as your acting skills were in that movie scene, how much influence did the Simple Minds song, Don't You Forget About Me, have on the scene?
Oh, it completed the scene. Not even it. I'm pretty sure it completed the movie. It was such an influential song during the 80s. John Hughes knows how to pick great music, but the funny thing is the band Simple Minds refused to create that song at first, but John kept begging and begging and begging them, and finally they agreed, but they didn't like it, and until their song came to be #1 on the Billboard charts, they hated it. But after that, they were kind of lenient because they're like, oh, well, this movie made our song #1. So.
Oh, that's great. So it seems like John Hughes got his way a lot. What was he like?
Oh, he always got his way. He was very picky. Usually we'd have to do 40 or 50 scenes just until we were perfect at it. And if you didn't have the right smile, John would make us redo it. But he wasn't the biggest Bender fan because I like to stay in character. And so on screen and off screen, I would act rowdy and obnoxious, and he would just hate that from me. But he did love Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall because he thought they were like family to him. And it's funny because a lot of people say that Ferris Bueller was just based off Hughes's relationship with Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, so speaking of Ferris Bueller, wasn't he part of the Brat Pack?
Yes and no.
So what do you mean?
The Brat Pack started with Emilio Estevez and I. Emilio was in Breakfast Club with me, but it all started in St. Elmo's Fire. In St. Elmo's Fire, right towards the end of production, Emilio's dad, Martin Sheen, was a very famous actor, a very famous director, writer, and he was pressuring Emilio to start writing and directing. So once that the New York magazine found out that he was starting to write and direct his own movies, they became very interested in him, and they wanted to write an article about him, and it ended up being an article about the boys in St. Elmo's Fire. So we got labeled the Brat Pack, and it was just about how we would party all night and we were womanizers, and we were just a whole bunch of rowdy teenagers that didn't know what to do with all their money, and so it was just, it was not good for our reputation.
How did that article affect your career after that?
It really shot us in the foot. It was hard because people just thought we were rowdy, partying teenagers who could only act the roles of teenagers. So it was very difficult to find other roles to play that directors would want us in because they just thought that we couldn't play anything else besides, me as John Bender in Breakfast Club or as in St. Elmo's Fire.
And I'm sure that would be hard to transition from the 80s to the 90s.
It really was because the 80s were a time of teenage movies. John Hughes was the master of teenage movies, but towards the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, it kind of died out because people stopped wanting to watch teenage flicks because they got so overwhelmed by them. And so by the 90s, it was just dying out, so it was very hard, yeah.
Oh man. Now, lastly, what impact do you think that these Hughes movies left on the nation?
Well, Hughes taught us about teenage love. That's what all his movies are about. And also that life is so challenging and complicated and wonderful. And no matter what age you are, you'll always be affected by it. So that's what he taught us.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much, Judd. And thank you so much for being on the show. And have a great night.
Thank you.